Hey, beautiful friends. Welcome back to the Spirit Essence Show. I'm Tara Diana, the host of our show, where we bring together the wisdom and insights of our two featured spiritual metaphysical practitioners for a thoughtful, provoking, and heart-centered conversation on a topic that they have no idea what it's going to be. And this is where I love to see what's going to happen. This is so much fun. I love this kind of stuff. So I want to welcome my lovies. I'm going to welcome first Alan Holmes. He's a medium. He's a spiritual practitioner. He has been around my world for like a long time and doing the work. So welcome. Alan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, babes?
Good morning, Tara. Thank you. Yeah, around for a long time. That really hurts all of my bones very deeply. Thank you. It's really great to be here. Of course, my name's Alan. Medium and like with Tara and everybody else, just working through our spiritual journey and trying to make a little difference, a little help along the way as best we can. It's been fun and challenging and thought-provoking and deep and everything. That's just part of life and what we are and who we are. And let's see what transpires today. And I'm really interested in what the topic is going to be. So I'm going to pass it over to Jo, and thank you very much.
Oh, okay. So if we're going to say that we've been, friends for a long time, that puts me in the same spot as you, my friend. So so we've been hanging for a while. It's good energy, it's good vibes, and you're so right. It's a journey. Like every one of us does this differently. So I'm super glad that we are still connected and still doing the work together. I love that. Jo, Spirit Essence Collective. Jo, tell us a little bit about who you are, baby.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jo, and I am from the Sunshine Coast of British Columbia, and I have been working with angels for about 17 years intentionally. Now I know they've been there all along, but I just started working with them about 17 years ago, and angels are my go-to. I get to the privilege of seeing people's angels and connecting with them and helping really connect that bond between someone and their angels. And I love it. Love what I do.
Oh, okay, boo-boo. So I got your back. Now, when I was sat down and I picked the messages, I have this beautiful list I wrote ages ago of all these different questions. Do you believe in? They always start with that. Do you believe in? And I picked one without really thinking. You know what I mean? I have different practitioners. Not always the people that come on here, guys, are, spiritual practitioners per se. I've got holistic healers. I've got inspirational speakers. So there's different platforms, and we kind of try to match people up to have a good conversation. So you're going to love me, Jo. You absolutely are. This is going to be right. And I know Alan can carry any conversation, so I'm not worried about that. I could have thrown anything at Alan, and I would have been like, yes, let's just talk. Okay, ready? Okay. Do you believe in a spiritual hierarchy? Hang on. That there is an organized system of angelic and ascended beings that are on many levels, controlling, I hate that word, but I'm using it, controlling and guiding life. Let me repeat it one more time, babies. Do you believe in a spiritual hierarchy that there is an organized system of angelic and ascended beings that are on many levels, controlling and guiding life? And as you know, you guys just talk when you want to talk. Just hit your button.
Okay, I'm hitting my button. I just did it. Sorry. Well, of course. I mean, no offense, but obviously there has to be. It's like life. There's a hierarchy in life. Smarter people do other things. I am not building a spaceship. This is not going to happen, and I can guarantee you that if I built one, none of you would want to get on it because it wouldn't go anywhere. It'd be really bad. So yeah, of course there's higher levels of intelligence and what have you, and even our guides. Like if you look at our guides, they're already, shall we say, above us to some degree in their evolution. They have to be. We made the choice to come back. They probably said, I've kind of worked that out. It's your turn.
I've been there. I've done that.
Yeah, and you go to the closet before you come into this life, and you go, okay, I'm picking this garb and this race and this country to start with. And I'm going in. Here we go. Of course, it's not a perfect. It doesn't. I don't believe everything's perfectly done, in the way that maybe the plan might be before we come back. But I will share this because this makes sense, and if I may, there's a couple of them, but I'll start with this one. So when I was 4 years old, I woke up as I always did on Christmas morning before anybody else. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I went running into my living room. Of course, the Christmas tree is there. I'll have to say this: we were not Catholic. My father had taken us out of the church because that summer they had asked him for more money for tithing, and my dad apparently lost it. I heard the story much later, obviously not when I was 4, but I found out later why, etc., etc. So standing beside my tree was this man, and he looked at me, and he was in this very old garb. And in my head, I knew not to speak, right? I knew to do it telepathically. And in my head, I said, "Who are you?" And he turned to me and he said, "I'm Saint Nicholas." Now, I had no idea who Saint Nicholas was. I didn't like Santa Claus. We would go to the store. My parents would try to put me on his knee, and I'd be screaming because not the person was bad, but I knew this person wasn't real. Like, I knew that wasn't the
Mm-hmm.
real guy. I
Mm-hmm.
knew who the real guy was. But the point of that is, Saint Nicholas is to some degree, you can have the arguments within the theological debates, etc. But he is a soul that has gone on, that has probably a bit higher up than many of us because of the works he did in life, and he had gained a certain level of spiritual clout, shall we say. But yes, there is a hierarchy. Now, exactly how that all works, where it all goes, who's at the top and who's at the bottom, I don't know. Maybe Joe does, but I know that there is, and I know that we're all climbing our spiritual ladders as well. And
Yes,
and
ascension,
part
ascension, ascension.
yeah, we are. And every experience allows for that ascension, even when you think you're in the darkest place of yourself. Even if you're the one walking the street addicted to drugs and God knows what else is going on, there is an evolution that's going on within that soul. Now, are there other ways to do it, and can we make it better? I think we can, but on our end down here, but that's still there, and we have to keep that in mind. Okay.
Okay, I love that, and thank you for not going all theologically all over the place with there because you would have me lost all over the place. So I like the simpleness. I like it. Let's go there. So I want to say this to Joe. He's not, Alan has spoken lots of truths right there, like lots of truths. And I do believe personally, Joe, that Alan, that there is a hierarchy. And I have a specific way of looking at it myself. And this is how my spirit team gave it to me. And so it's what I can work with. It's what resonates for me, and it works well. Now, like Alan said, there is 1,000 ways you can go down this road. And the reason that this really resonated with me as a question was that I can remember sitting in a circle many years ago at a spiritualist church where the woman there, she's passed over. I miss you, but she's passed over. Kept saying to me, "I don't have guides. We don't need guides. That's a whole bunch of stuff." And I was like, I could just feel myself like, I was like that girl in the Willy Wonka thing. I ate bad gum or whatever, and I was like blowing up like a balloon. But then I thought to myself, okay, so that's her journey, her perspective, her thought process. I know she has a team because my team's telling me about her team, but I don't need to push that on anyone. But there definitely is a hierarchy. And the hierarchy, and you work with the angelic realm consistently, that is your jam, baby. That's your vibe. And the hierarchy for the archangels for me is quite high up there. So I want to know
Yeah.
your feels. Your feels, girl.
My feels. So the first thing that I got from that is so true about how you said it was like her perspective. And I was told very early on in my journey when I started doing readings that all roads lead to Oz because we need a whole bunch of different roads because we're a whole bunch of different people. So there's no right and wrong. There's just our perspective that moves us forward. And yes, my team has definitely given me hierarchies inside of the angelic realm, inside of spirit who's passed over. And like if I do a reading and I get somebody and they're like, "Oh, I want to ask, for my Uncle Jim." And I'm like, "Okay, well, don't ask him about money because he was a bad investor." So it's like, yes, they have a higher perspective, but you want to go to the highest perspective for the answer that is key that you're asking. if that makes sense.
Oh, that does make sense. I want to ask something, Joe, if you don't mind. And I'm
Yeah.
open to both of your discussion on this. Where do you guys see our loved ones in terms of a hierarchy on the other side? Because we're talking about a hierarchy on the other side. So
Yeah.
beings on the other side. I would love to hear this. I would.
For me, they show up in different. It's like they like inside the angelic realm, they've told me like a specific hierarchy, and from ones that have passed over, because I have met ones who've passed over who were now guiding and very much a spirit guide of somebody, and yet somebody else who passed over is kind of, I want to say, they say a newbie. So they're going to come around again, but you know, maybe Aunt Mildred passed and she's had many my lifetimes, and she's now your spirit guide because she's been there, done that. But you know, cousin Fred is a newbie, so he's, do you know what I mean? So even inside people who've passed, there's a hierarchy.
Good old Aunt Millie. Good old
Yeah.
Aunt Millie. Ellen, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with most of that. Of course, I think that this is about soul evolution, right? Soul experience and the gradual evolution of the inner being through physical form. Because I think that's the real key here, right? It's like we can all be wonderful in the spirit world, but how do we manifest in physical form and the attributes of that? Yeah, I had a dream with my dad about a year ago, and my dad was a very good man, very good man, very solid. Left me way too early, but very solid, and a grade 7 education, but incredibly smart. My dad was a very smart man, and but in life, because of his world, he wasn't very effusive. Like I think a certain generation, we understand that with a lot of men they weren't very demonstrative with their emotions, etc. And in the dream, the first one I've had with him like this, if I have had many, he was standing in front of me, and on his shoulders, it was like he was wearing this white coat, but the shoulders were this beautiful dark purple. And I looked at him and I hugged him. I said, "Oh, Dad, you've grown so much." And I still feel it, it still hits me.
Oh,
And it was such a spiritual exchange in a way that I could never express with him in this life, because he was in a different world. I mean, he grew up on the prairies,
for sure.
1920s and 30s, no electricity. It's a really hard life, and it was such a beautiful moment. And I thought, wow, and it just proves again and again the growth that we can achieve here and there, and that it's all about growth. And yes, like when I've done readings, sometimes it's the grandparent that shows up and is very much the now a spirit guide of, or one of them now, of the team for the soul that's still here. And as you say, Joe, it's not like with everybody. Not everyone is. So I think sometimes family members, even if they're not of the highest level, shall we say, and that's, I don't know how else to say it, of a certain vibration or consciousness level. I think when there's a real tragedy in the family, they step in as well to that ring, shall we say, of helpers for a while. Because it's the love connection. That is always going to draw us to each other, even if that love connection was short. But if it was real and true, and even a sincere moment, helps us to go past our perceptions of each other, particularly from the spirit realm, because all of that dies away so much. We start saying, "Oh yeah, I was an idiot. What was I doing?" Because it was just my own inner reactions and my own hurt and pain and everything else. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'll be quiet now.
So I'm gonna say something a little different. I've always been guided by my team. And again, I'm sitting here listening to you guys, and I'm like, making sure that this isn't, coming from a place of, different perspectives. No, we want it to be different perspectives, but not from a place of your humanness. So just knowing that this is what my team showed me. And they've always showed me that loved ones that have crossed over. So your father, your cousin, your partner, when they go to the other side, and I have a very distinct way of looking at the other side through my team, they are not, in terms of the ascended hierarchy, in a spirit guide. They just have not got that level of whatever it is, ascension, to move up into that space. So they will help you. They will be a part of the energy around you. But my teams, like every time I go, oh, a guide, they're like, wah, stop. They're not a guide. They are guiding. They are a part of a space with you. And that used to bother me. That used to bother me for a period of time, and until I really sat with it and I saw the hierarchy, right? Okay, so it's us here on this realm. Then we go to our loved ones, the closest human spirits on the other side, and then we ascend to our team, and we ascend, etc., etc., etc. And then I could really embrace it. But it was really important for me to understand that, my son Ryan, who's passed over to the other side, is not my guide. He is there for me. He comforts me. He brings me ease. He brings me space. But he is not actually my spirit team. He is not my mediumship guide. And I do have several guides, baby, and I stand by those guides. I do not have 350 guides. I do not have a parking guide. I do not have a parking angel. I'm a good manifester. But my point with this was that it was really important for me to understand so I could express that when I was doing my evidential mediumship work or even my trance mediumship. I will not trance anyone that is not above a certain ascension place. So there was an experiment done with a group of us a while ago, and I was really quite opposed to it. And when I say a while ago, I'm talking at least 4 to 5 years ago. And I was opposed to it from the beginning. But I was in the circle, and I was there, and they wanted to trance channel a loved one. And in my view, it went horrifically wrong. It did nothing for the person they were giving the message to other than cause grief and fear and all sorts of stuff, because I don't believe we're meant to channel those beings. I don't believe we are meant to channel them. We are meant to channel our humanness, our human vessel, our human mindset is meant to channel higher vibrational beings that can hold the energy for us, because as I've been told and as I watched when I watched this, we are not capable of holding a lower vibrational energy like that. Thoughts? Anyone?
Yes. So that's so funny. Yes. So I would never trans channel someone who's passed over. Like as far as like no. My channeling is always for me is angelic and above. Like angels and above is pretty I always say love and above. So angels and above. And yes, I feel like if you're going, it's not channeling. It's you want to interpret. We're the interpreter or the translator for spirit, for loved ones who've passed over, and yet for like the angelic realm, then definitely I feel like we can translate, but they often tell me just move over because we can say it faster. Or
and
we
they're
can say
not
it.
wrong. There's no lie
We can hit
detected in
right on the
that.
mark.
Just shove off there, girlfriend. Let me
They're
do the
like,
work.
you just we get it, but but yes, about holding the energy for sure. Like I only once, very early on, I had someone kind of, I want to say, jump in who'd passed over, a grandmother who wanted to talk to their granddaughter, and it did not feel good. I didn't like it. It was very much no thanks. I would like the high vibration, and yes, they need to hold our energy. They can hold our energy at a certain level and maintain it for the transmission that I think somebody who is lower vibration can't do.
I'm there for that. That
Yeah.
is what it is. And I did have someone, and I don't believe, to be honest with you, my friends, I do not believe that loved ones try on a regular basis to overtake someone. I do not believe that at all. And actually, there was an incident again that happened with my son Ryan after he had passed, that someone had claimed on platform in front of people that Ryan had entered his body, and it was showmanship. It was false mediumship. And when I called them on it, it was in a very unhappy place. And we won't go there. That's another conversation when I'm feeling a little more spicy. But Ellen, do you have anything to add to that? Not to the what
How
happened to me,
many
but
hours do you have? Okay. Number one, just going back to what you had commented before about parents, grandparents, and people crossing over who, yeah, they aren't our guides, but they can be guide-like in a way in terms of like day-to-day stuff sometimes when they step in. The other side does not hang around us all the time. They cannot. They live in a different vibration. I mean, and we don't live up with them all the time because our consciousness level is at the bank some days, and some days we're thinking about the person who cut us off in traffic. Anyone who knows me knows these stories, and all you want to do is reach out with your hands and wring them their neck. But okay, and so
erase, erase,
and
erase.
so your spirituality goes to the basement that day. You're not living up in the penthouse, right? You're just not.
Because you're human.
Because you're human, and we have to give ourselves and everyone space for that, and we often don't. I'm very disturbed and very sad to hear this experience you just said. We won't get into it because I've had that sort of thing happen with my wife, and I'll tell you, it was the person who did it. God, they were lucky. Um,
I
but
hear you.
but yeah, I thought don't cross that line. Do not do it. And I am very careful with that myself as a medium. You don't. In terms of the Okay, so we all know about the blending, right? Blending with spirit to bring the most essence through. I think some people get themselves very excited, and when it's very deep, they think they're entranced with the person on the other side who is a loved one. And I think there are distinctions. Any of us who have ever been in a trance state with our beloved workers, guides, I know for myself, if I'm not in a good place or haven't, and what I mean by good place within my consciousness of with spirit, it's not as good. It's not as smooth. It's not as, I don't care who you are. We all fluctuate all the time.
Absolutely.
So when you're up higher in your consciousness and in your love and all those other wonderful things, and you can overcome your own resentment and all those things that we all have to deal with, there can be great communication with your higher levels of consciousness, guides, etc. I we I don't think we, as you say, should be sitting purposefully to have a father or grandfather entrance us. Historically, insight spiritualism back in the 1880s, 90s, early 1900s, etc., that apparently is well documented and happening. But there was a different reason back then, too. They were just getting things started. They were trying to really, I guess the other side was trying to really make it clear about the spirit world and the physical world and what communication was possible. But I think if we really look at it, we probably would realize now from our perspective that that was more like a blending of the essence as opposed to being in real trance.
I agree. I agree with you 100%, my friend.
Yeah, I think, and of course the proof is in the pudding. If it brings somebody some upliftment, if they're touched and the love from the spirit world and the evidence and whatever touches them and they're in tears, but it's that upliftment tears that we all know
Yep,
where you
yep,
feel
yep.
after, oh, thank you. I just know everything's good. I know they're all right. I know I'm all right. I know, whatever happens, everything's fine. Or I know the plan now. At least I can understand a little bit. Because that's often the issue, isn't it? Why this happened, why, and all of that. Then we have, then the gift is great. That's a great gift in that moment. But I think other than that, we have to be cautious. We have to be our guides will, but we also too, with our common sense, have to be the gatekeepers a bit. We have to be smart anyway.
This is a beautiful topic. And what I want to say, Alan, is that when you were talking about, getting the message and feeling it in whatever capacity, that is why I love evidential mediumship. And if you know me, you know me. I am not big on 80% evidence and 20% freaking message. I am the message bearer, baby, because I feel like that's the purpose of it. I don't want to. And people fight me on this all the time, Alan, and I'm saying to you directly because you know about the different spiritualist things, overseas and all that jazz. And people fight me this on all the time. They're like, "Oh, you shouldn't be giving messages because you can't prove that's what they're really saying." I'm like, "The hell I can't. The hell I can't. I just gave you 3 amazing pieces of evidence. I don't want to sit here for 30 minutes telling you that Granny wore pink panties and smoked a pack of cigarettes and played cards really, really well, because that's not the purpose." Now, again, you do you, baby. You do you. I'm interested to know you too. That's my rant for the day, my TED Talk for anyone that's spiritual. But I would love to know what you guys actually believe, and we'll bring this to a close with this last question here. But what do you guys feel is your idea of what the hierarchy looks like? For example, I gave you a little bit of mine. It is us. It is our loved ones on the other side. It becomes our spirit team. For me, it moves up to the ascended masters, to the archangels, to source, whatever source is the God of your understanding. I'd love to hear what your guys' is. Go for it.
Yeah, so mine matches yours. And then inside of each subcategory is the hierarchy within that. So the angels have their hierarchy. And like I said, like people who've passed over have hierarchy, and so inside, but yes, exactly. That's exactly what I see too. That's what I've been told many times.
Sweet goddess girl, that is way
Yeah.
too much hierarchies for me. I need to be the simplistic. I'm the one that doesn't read tarot
Well,
cards.
because-
I read oracle because I'm too lazy to learn what the tarot means. So that's a lot of
Well,
hierarchy.
because they
but I get it.
focused me on angels, and they gave me that one right away, like 15 years ago, 16 years ago. So inside of that, it wasn't until more recently when I started doing other things that they were like, "Oh yeah, by the way," it's almost like, "Oh, because you want to." It came through because of, there's never an end. There's always learning, there's always growing, there's always expanding, there's always one more thing that's available, one more aha, one more insight, one more level of consciousness. They're like, so it's always...
Do you know what I'm envisioning, Joe? I'm envisioning those little Russian wooden dolls where you unscrew the top one and there's another one and
There's
you're just
another one.
going. And as a kid, you're like, holy gosh almighty. And your mom's trying to catch the little one so you don't swallow it and choke. That's what I'm kind of envisioning. Thank you for that, Joe. I think that's a beautiful perspective. And I love that and sit with that energy. Now, Mr. Holmes, tell me what you got going on.
Okay, I think the best way is for me to say it with 2 experiences. I think it says it better than I can say it. So my one guide many years ago showed himself to me in a vision, and I was looking up through the tunnel. Swear to God, the tunnel where people travel when we leave.
The tunnel.
The one and only. And as I was sitting in meditation, I saw this door, and the door opened, and all this light came pouring through. And this form came out in this shape of a man, but all in light. And as he came down the tunnel, he was attached to the silver cord, where we would say was into the solar plexus. That's the best I can describe. But as he came down in vibration, he became more man and less light. But he was still attached to the silver cord until he stood in front of me, and I saw him very clearly. And then he went back up into the light. In that alone, that's a hierarchy.
Holy Moses, sir!
And I'm hoping with the rest of my life now, I can honor him enough to do this work enough, as well as hopefully he can help me do, because I think, like with all of us, we feel like maybe we haven't quite done yet what we're here to do fully. And then many years later, it was in a vision where I saw Jesus walk towards me, and he was wearing the Pharaoh's crown, but attached to the Pharaoh's crown were the 10 Commandments on the slab. He stood in front of me. He took off the crown with the 10 Commandments attached, and he just stood there. And I realized that the 10 Commandments and the Pharaoh's crown was all about the Old Testament. The New Testament, or the spiritual, right, the real deep spiritual, was all about love and forgiveness. And those are the 2 lessons we have to learn the most. And anyone who's lost people, children, parents, loved ones, wives, whoever, all the resentment you've had to deal with in your life, all of it, the more we overcome here, the higher we go, and the higher we raise everybody else around us, whether it's here or in spirit. And that's what we're trying to do. And we can all sit here and swap stories about our great moments of mediumship, and I'm sure we're all going to have just seriously fantastic things to say, because I got a book full, and I know I've had it since I was a kid. But at the end of the day, that's great. But what's the deeper spiritual purpose of it all? And it is all about love and forgiveness. I'm not going to sit here and hold resentment against my stepmother, my God, because the only person who that's going to hurt is me more than anybody else, and her in the long run. It's not going to help anybody.
Oh, so true.
And that doesn't mean it's easy. It's
So true.
bloody hard, excuse my language. And you want to, there's days you think, God, I could still wring their neck for something. But at the same, you think, but no, when I leave this life, I don't want that hanging in my soul. Thank you very much. Hanging on to that is your own, that's your own hell. That really is your own hell. And
I agree with you.
I mean, we gotta work it out as much as we can. And again, but I'm not sitting here preaching at anybody saying that I've done all that. I'm not saying I have achieved. I would love to, actually, I wouldn't be here if I.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be like, Alan,
Mm-hmm.
you're ready. You're gone now. But all of that is these are such deep, important lessons for all of us across the world, anywhere we are, and and all the people that are suffering right now in war and famine and everything. My God, I mean, I don't get to sit here and tell them they have to love and forgive and do all that. That's something their soul's got to come to in a point. But I do understand enough that at some point every soul's going to have to get there in order to truly be free as a true spiritual consciousness.
Can I add something to this, Alan? There's a lot of talk in my world, and then I really truly will bring this to a close, but because we could stay here for all day. But I do want to say this. There's a lot of talk in my world between not only my spiritual friends, but my friends. I have lots of friends about, can I forgive the accused in Ryan's case? Can I accuse? And I have one girlfriend who's very close to Ryan who's like, absolutely not. I am in no space. She's talking about herself. I am no space. I think about what I could do to them if I ran across them. She says, I have no compassion, nor do my children, who are also Ryan's very good friends at this point. Fair enough. I sit with that and I go back and forth a bit. And this is what always comes back to me. So I don't actually give an opinion one way or other at this point to that question in particular. It's very based on me, obviously. But I always go back to this. Forgiveness does not mean you condone what was done.
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
Yeah, it does not mean that. Am I ready to forgive anyone in this place? We haven't even gone to trial yet. So could someone please just let me get to a space where I can actually even think about healing? Right now, I just relive it over every day we go to court, right? Okay, that's my journey. I can cope. I can cope. I'm a big girl. I can do this. Spirit walks with me. Having said all of that, I think it's really important that we all realize, and this is my humble opinion, friends, that what we believe in, whether you are an organized religion, whether you are following a spiritual path, that a hierarchy of beings does exist. How you see it, how you work with it, and how you feel it is yours, baby. It's yours. And we're not here to judge you, and we hope you don't judge us. And we just have to do the work, because Alan said it beautifully when he said, basically what he said, I'm going to kind of rephrase it, was energy begets energy. So when we are sitting in good energy, that good energy goes out. And the number one thing about the whole world, unconscious, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say the word unconscious, but I don't know why. What am I trying to say? Something about love, unconscious love. Someone, What
Yeah,
am I doing?
yeah. Unconscious love. It's just it's a universal love that just is for everybody. And if we're gonna be, sorry, if we're gonna be the perfect reflection of the light, because this is what we're all trying to do. I mean, really, on the deepest spiritual level, we are trying to, through our physical form, express that divine light, and that divine light is all love, is all knowing, is all forgiving, is all of it. In our little ways here, that's what we're trying to do, and through the imperfectness of what we see, as, you know, as we assume the imperfectness of our world is, although maybe it is perfect for us to have the experiences and that's the way it is, but we are trying, and that's what we should be aiming for. That doesn't mean it's easy, and that doesn't mean that, again, as you said so beautifully, Tara, that we should all, you know, well, you just have to get there, and once you get there, you'll be fine. It's like, no. It's, you know, people have, we have horrible experiences that we have to deal with, and then through that come to those deeper levels. Because can you forgive enough? Can you love enough? I don't think we ever can. And this is something Joe was referring to earlier, was that there's a hierarchy, and then we just keep going, right? There's a way to keep going, and this is in and that I feel so very strongly, and that's been given to me in my life, because I had, like all of us, we've had the things we've had to do and work on. Mine was really about a lot of forgiveness in my life. And it's been just a
Mm-hmm.
theme for me. And I didn't realize that even when I had that vision at the time. I just did, I mean, it took me, I'm stupid. It took me 20 years to figure that out. But that is what we are trying to do, and perfect that within our own being, not out there, not to make everyone else perfect, not to change anybody else in that way, but to really make it about our inner house, and then reflect it out into the world, and not expect that it's ever going to come back to us. We can't do this work and have a spiritual awakening and think then, now that you're kind and more loving, that everyone's going to respond in kind to you, because they're not there.
Oh, sweet Lord, do I understand that?
And then we have to remember, there was a time we were around other people who were more spiritual than us. Sorry, Joe, I'll shut up here in a second. That were more spiritual than us, and we weren't treating them very well because we weren't there.
And so on and so forth. Joe, how if people want to learn more about you, my baby, my friend, my good friend, how do they find out about you besides going to
They
the website?
They can find me at Tara's website because I am part of the collective. Yay, I love that. And they can find me on my website, which is JoAnneMoore.ca.
Love it. And my website is www.spiritessencebytaradiana.com. We have a great group of practitioners there if you want to go check them out. Now, Alan, how do we find you? Because I know people are going to want to find you guys.
I am I'm terrible. So okay, I do have a podcast where I've been sharing experiences called Let Spirit Speak. You can find it
Very
on
cool. Let spirit speak.
Spotify and Apple and God knows where else. I do have a web page that's from 2007. That's so bad. But my phone number and my email address is on that, which is alanjohnholmes@yahoo.com. And those are really the only two big places to find me currently. I haven't become part of the collective yet. I haven't had a Borg assimilate me. So I'm waiting for the arrival of the Borg cube. Tara.
Because you haven't finished building your spaceship, dude. I mean,
Well,
come on.
I'm trying. I'm really slow, Matt. Like I said, I'm not the guy to build the spaceship because it's going to fall apart. So I just don't have that level of intelligence. Uh,
Well, we'll talk, Alan. We'll talk. I just want to say thank you to you both for this. This was fun. This is my forte, guys. This is where I love to bring the spiritual perspectives in. I love to sit with people with different thought patterns or similar thought patterns, and I love it. So I want to thank you both again for being here.
Thank you. That was fun. Always is.
Thank you, Tara. And Joe, really nice meeting you. All the best to
Nice
you
to
and
meet
all
you.
your work, and both of you. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, we're coming to an end. I am so honored to have you both here, as I said, but I want to do a shout out to me. Okay, let's talk about me for just a second. So you want to follow me? I have many different platforms. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. Oh my goodness. I'm on YouTube, and all my platforms are super easy, babies. It's Spirit Essence by TaraDiana.com. And if you want to follow my podcast, I have one as well with the lovely animal communicator, Nancy Brady, Spirit, Angels, and Guides, oh my, on all the streaming platforms. Go over there, listen to me, give me 5 stars, then go over to Alan's, listen to Alan's, give him 5 stars, and we'll all be in harmony. I promise. Okay, guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.